Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Crowdfunding roundup this week. And included, right at the beginning, I'm giving you spoilers. 2 rants. One of which is going to be obvious, right with the first game we're going to cover. The second one, if you've been on this channel following for a significant amount of time, it'll definitely ring some bells and you'll understand why I get a little bit riled up about it in the first place, right? Has something to do with me being banned from somewhere, if you remember that. Anyway, that's all I got. Crowdfunding roundup this week. What do we got going on? A little bit of everything. And I'll try not to be too wordy at the same time, because I tend to ramble as well. Let's do this. Yep, first up, we're talking about Clank Legacy 2 Acquisitions Incorporated, Darkest Magic. Jim Darkmage is back, baby. Green Flame! Anyway, over $250,000 at the time of me filming this. Very good. Very good. But I'm going to sit here like someone else in a famous meme, lean back, put the sign up and say, Legacy games shouldn't be on crowdfunding. Change my mind. Right? Again, tell me if I'm wrong. The issue I have with this right now, you're going to get promos. You're going to get foil promos. That's all I've announced for stretch goals. That's fine. No big deal. However, I'm also not seeing the incentive. And that was my big question from last week. Why get it on crowdfunding in the first place? You can't make things more exclusive with a product like this. Direwolf does retail. Direwolf is looking at retail. They're looking past crowdfunding already right now. And I don't blame them. From a business model, going to crowdfunding makes a whole hell of a lot of sense for a business. For a consumer, though, flip the script. Why am I backing it now? If you're familiar with Clank Legacy number 1, you'll know that a few times in the past year or two, it went on sale. Significant sale, like on Amazon or one of the other websites that does that, for like $50. Most of the time, when I looked at it prior to the crowdfunding campaign 2 weeks ago, when I filmed videos, it was going for about $74, $75 in print in stock. Now, it's out of stock in a lot of places, but that's not going to stay. So the question is, when you scroll down here, why am I going to pay $100 plus shipping right now? Is $30 to $50 extra worth a couple foil promos right now? The answer is a big If you want to support the publisher, awesome. If you want those promos and that's the make it or break it for you, they're not even new promos really right now, it looks like. They're old promos that are being collected in with this one from the various previous iterations as well as the previous edition of this. They're being grouped in. Fine. If you're a big promo person, I'm not. So otherwise, it's going to be getting it early. And again, even the higher level pledge for $179 here is $80 for a game that retails wide mass market for $75 when it's in stock again. So yeah, why? I just, that just boggles my mind. Like if you had said this one was like 150, now again, I would be more interested. This one, as far as I can tell, just glancing at the top here, if I'm someone who's going into this blind, doesn't include even the expansion. If you said maybe even the expansion, the upper management expansion, though the title that you're giving it, if it actually included that, I could make an argument that it's probably not horrible then. But I just can't right now. And apparently 4,000 people feel like this is of good value. I just wonder how many of those 4,000 people, one, again, if you're in North America, again, big asterisks on that, North America, North America, North America. If you're in North America, why are you getting this? You're getting it because you're early. You got cash to burn. Okay, good. We don't know anything about this. They put a little like disclaimer out here. There's no rules. And again, this is why, going back to my beginning point, change my mind on this one. Prove to me that this is going to be better. Prove to me that this is going to be worth a 25 to 40% upcharge in cost. I can't, because there's no mechanics known. There's no differences shown. There's no example rule book of what's going to be why. You're just going off of the premise that this is going to be better and I'm going to pay for it more and it's going to be a better experience overall. How many legacy games do you have that are completed in your collection? If you're a big legacy person, absolutely understand it. Still, my advice is to get it at retail. If you're not a big legacy person, is this one actually going to change your mind? No, because the sessions of this one are apparently, I haven't played original, long. sessions are longer than regular normal legacy sessions. The other thing I have to say out there is when you look at the previous 1 and 2s for legacy editions, strikingly prime example of Pandemic 1 versus Pandemic 2, people preferred 1. Now, not to say the sequel can't be good, but go look at movie blockbusters as well. I'm looking at you, Matrix. Gosh, that had such high potential. Anyway, you're getting a little bit of the new stuff here. That's about it. Boss battles. He gave you a couple of bosses, but I hate this unrevealing, unlocking crap as well too. I mean, it just doesn't do anything for me. Spirit Island Nature Incarnate did it too, and it's just like, okay, if I'm looking at this as someone who is totally out of the board game scene, if I am seeing this on Penny Arcade, if I am seeing this on Acquisitions Incorporated, right? I have no clue what this game is so far. No clue. I see a board. I have no clue what the details are. I have no incentive to get it. I don't even know what bosses do. I have no clue what the mechanics are of this. All you tell me is that you can play cooperative. There's going to be scratch-offs, which, again, is very divisive. If you don't have the right material on scratch-offs, it leaves the cards damaged. If the cards get damaged in a deck builder, you can tell what card it's going to be. Is that going to be something that you're willing to wager on? Again, it's an unknown. Or is this going to be where all of a sudden a second or third printing at retail is where they've mastered the production side of things? That'd be my fear. I don't think that's unreasonable either. Again, it's fine that this is accolades for the original, but I have no clue how this compares to the original. Here's all the other Clank stuff. Again, like adjacent, but not necessarily there. I mean, it's deck building, press your luck, pull the dragon, don't have too many Clanks, don't lose your health before you try and escape, or you're going to get knocked out and you're going to lose altogether. Love the mechanics. I got Catacomb sitting right here next to me. It's probably going to be a top 10 game for me of the year, but I just can't look at this and go, you as a consumer should go out and back this right now with what they have out there. Will that change before the end of the campaign? Hopefully. But for me, probably not, especially because we know it's going to retail and I'm not a big promo person, like I said. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, change my mind. Now, what else we got going on? Astro Knights. Again, changed my mind. I read through this page twice now. I look at this, indie, boards, and cards. I look at this and I go, why doesn't this have 2, 3, 4, 5 times the funding? Why does Aeon's End do so much better? And I got my latest Aeon's End package in the mail this week. I opened it up, I looked through it, and I said, oh geez, this is another campaign-ish one. The latest one has like that little expedition mode with like the unlocking envelopes and the little branching story and a tinier... And I'm like, I don't want that anymore. I just want to bust out some Aeon's End without having to feel like, okay, I have to slide cards into these decks and disjoint them here. And then with like Aeon's End Legacy 2, Legacy of Gravehold, like some of the stuff ports over and some of the stuff doesn't. It left a bad taste in my mouth. And I said that in my review. And I opened this up and I looked through it a little bit and I closed it. And I'm seriously not even thinking about keeping it right now. I'm seriously thinking about getting rid of it. And I think that's part of the issue is Aeon's End is getting the nostalgia bucks. Astro Knights, by all accounts, when I read through the rulebook, when I look at the new mechanics, when I look at the streamlined nature, when I look at the changes to the homeworld, to the bosses, the boss decks, the asymmetric heroes, and the upgrades, and the combo systems, and the 3 or 4 different mechanisms that they're doing here differently, it looks better. So why is it, I don't want to say failing, why is it doing so much worse? Is it the fantasy theme? Is it the fantasy theme versus the sci-fi theme? I have no clue. The price is fine. I think the price is really good actually for $55. You know, you get the 2 little expansions. The only question I have, and the only thing I have an issue with, is they make all of these standalone, which kind of irritates me. But then you say, okay, well, you can get the accessories. Okay, that's fine. But I don't see any reason to get the original Astro Knights right now. I see none, zero, zilch. They're offering the promos. They're offering some of the exclusive upgrades that were associated with it. And guess what? There's going to be a third one next year or the end of this year or whenever in the near future. So the first one is already sort of outdated. It's just like the original Aeon's End. Nobody plays the original Aeon's End anymore. It's just too much power creep and power mechanism creep that make it just not stand up. Whether it's the characters, the spells, or anything else in between. And so why would you buy the first one? That's what I'll make the argument with. And I think this looks fan-freaking-tastic. I would love to have this in my collection, but I'm not sure I can afford it in terms of just all the other stuff I have, if I was going to say another word there. And you've got all the quotes from all the biggest name people on here saying it's a joy, it's tremendous, it's spectacular, it's clever, it's smooth. I don't know if they actually said half those things, but they like it, is what I'm saying. Although, I saw a quote the other day that was talking about how smooth the game was, and I was like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? I have a whole nother video ranting on that, like generic quotes. Anyway, these are the 3 new mechanics. Your afterburn, so once in your discard pile, it gives you a boost up. Bolster, you can make someone else's cards stronger on their turn by using one on their turn to help them. Or inventions, things that are going to help you get stronger. And then combo cards, where you can basically, it's more like tag team cards, if you will, where if they do an action on their turn, then you get a bonus, and so team attack as well. Rulebook's there, MVM, Tantrum House, One Stop Co-op Shop, all those guys have some videos, some quotes up here. And again, it just looks better. Bosses, high difficulty rating, 4 new bosses before you get to the expansion, 2 more new knights that are going along with it. They're going to give you some upgrades. I mean, it's a deck builder. You pay your stuff, you buy new stuff. It's got an upgraded market that's not all the same. You can mix and match however you want. You get the little expansions to go along with it here with the extra knights and the extra, bosses, and it just looks great. And I don't necessarily need the mat. So, I mean, $55 is great. No problem about that. So why isn't it getting more? I have no clue. Shipping's slightly more expensive than I would have guessed. It's slightly higher than some of the other campaigns or projects right now. But it makes kind of the price point a wash. So if you want to make sure you can get some of that stuff and don't have to pick up in the secondary market, great. But again, I just look at this and I go, why? Shrug. No clue. Someone who looks at this on a weekly basis, almost more than anyone else on the internet, except for a few other random people. So take that for what you will. Speaking of things that I have no clue why they're doing so well, Botany. I looked at this and I said, wow, this is really out of nowhere. This seems really cool. First time creator, putting it out there, 2,000 backers, awesome, $134,000. This must be doing something really special. And then I read the rulebook and I was kind of like, okay. I just am a little bit curious now if a lot of this appeal, it is an absolutely beautifully fantastic looking game. You're moving around a board with different connected spots on a map, sort of like the pandemic map you can see here. And you have to make it back to your estate to gather your income to be able to pay for the samples of the garden varieties of plants that you are trying to gather. And each of them is going to give you victory points. And you have containers that can only carry 3 of them. But if you stamp them, like flatten them out like this, then you can carry as many in that pocketbook that you can, including the negative ones. And if you flatten them out, the negative ones won't give you negatives. But you have to make it back there with the live ones in order to score the points. And you have to buy them when you're going to these different locations. And it just seems much simpler than I was expecting. Don't say that as a bad thing. I was expecting a little bit more with it as well. So, I don't know. I have no idea. I could see this one really being a very solid, light style game. But I don't get quite the sense of the flow. I really think you got to get a rule book overview of this if you're interested. I think you really should watch a little bit of video as well. And that's about it. The problem is there's really only Stella's video. And take that for what you will. I just don't know. It's not bad price-wise, again. I mean, especially if you're one of these last 10 people at the time of me filming this. 17, actually. So I'm wondering if they're going to open this pledge level up, because it's really interesting here. And the other downside here is $39 for this. Absolutely fantastic price, probably. The next pledge level, exact same thing, right? It's $55. That's $16 difference. That is literally almost a 50% hike increase from this to this for the exact same thing. So I can't help but say this is going to taper off if this actually happens. I can't say anything else otherwise, because that's way too big of a jump for an early bird. I say that as a consumer. Like, I could jump in and get one of those 17 right now, and I'd be very happy. If I was, 18th at the time of me filming this, I'd be a little peeved, and that turns off people. Should it turn off people? You can make the argument. Will it turn off people? Absolutely. Stretch goals here, you're going to get some content. It looks like content, a little bit of deluxeification in terms of the mats, deluxe foils, and otherwise just new character cards that are going to be going along with it. So a few more here you can tell as well. I mean, it looks solid, but is it for you? I mean, that's the kicker here. So take that for what you will. Now, Speaking of things that boggle my mind, a fool and his money are soon parted, right? Axolotl. It's almost funded. It's going to be funded well before the time you guys watch this video. It's a take that card where you chop off the other axolotl's hands and limbs, and then the last one with limbs left wins. And you can throw your arms at people, and if you get one chopped off, you regenerate and you get one of these other ones. You discard, you target, you take that, and you play cards on a turn-by-turn basis. That's all I know. There's no rule book. There's absolutely no video. There's absolutely no what these cards are, except for the fact that you see some illustrated art here with occasional text that maybe kind of tells you a vague description of what might happen. That's it. That's it. And 700 people are okay with that. So, I guess, right? Take that for what you will. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Wishland, the expansion. Dreams from America. Now, this is a combination of worker placement, Feldian point salad, and tableau building, because you're going to be placing your workers out over a series of 7 rounds with 4 turns apiece, if I'm not confusing my games up here. And what you're doing is you're just buying these cards from the market to create your tableau in order to expand what you can buy, how many cards you can hold, where your workers can go, just how you can get all of the resources that are absolutely necessary. It's doing a lot of things. Set collection, worker placement, tableau builders. And I'm sorry, but I gotta point this out. The #1 theme park board game. How many theme park board games do you know? I can think of Unfair. I can think of the Fun Fair. And I think there's the new one from Pandasaurus, the roller coaster one. It's about it. So, not as bad as a Mythic quote, but take that for what you will. New expansion board, new sets of cards. Dreams are the new type of card in this. Otherwise, you have all of these different entrepreneur cards, because essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to get like one of 7 different types of cards that are each going to modify your park in different ways. Actors, concession stands, rides, amusements, all of those things are going to give slightly different bonuses to how you're going to be putting your park together. The exclusive here is just deluxifications and a little booster pack of cards. The game board, they run you through exactly, again, the 7 types of cards that I talked about right here. And then you get to see a little bit of the deluxifications here. If you were an original prior backer, they have an upgrade kit down here as well that you can pay, I think it's like $20 for. Better game board, better cards, a little bit of deluxifications and plastic tray to upgrade it. So the exclusive workers you can buy separately, as well as some metal coins. I was right at the beginning here, 7 rounds, 4 turns per round. At the beginning, you move your round marker to where you want to go in the round. And, you know, if you go first, then you get no bonus. But if you subsequently choose one of the other spots, you're going to get a little bonus. Then you get your income. And then you get your main actions, where you're either going to be placing, purchasing, or playing, or collecting all your workers back up if you want to reuse them. The worker placement has a little bit of a slight different mechanism and nuance here as well, in the sense that you can play on other people's spaces that are already full, but it's going to cost you 1 more worker than the previous set of workers that are down there. And they run you through the types of different cards that you're going to be doing, and they show you all of these. So the rule book is actually much shorter than what it appears. And then you go into the end until the 7th round ends, and then you score up your tableau based on what you have in front of you. So again, like, I had never actually heard of this game. It seems solid. Seems very solid. If you have any interest in tableau set collection style of things, everybody's got a video here as well you can check out. And there's an early bird, and the funding goals are just a little bit of everything else, like we've seen, a little deluxification and a little gameplay content. Is it worth $66 like we're talking about here for a base game and an expansion prior to shipping? I don't know. I haven't been looking at this one too closely on the retail side of things. I have no clue what the secondary market looks for something like this, but I can see why people like it. That's a good combination of mechanics, and if it's as good as people say it is, well, you know, it's probably a solid add to your collection, but retail versus crowdfunding is going to be the question. So if you want the deluxifications, here's your worker placement on crowdfunding, but if you don't, maybe check it out at retail. Cities of Venus, just give a shout out here. They actually do a good explanation in the rule book, because I read the rule book like I do every week, of why this concept is actually what it would have to be if we ever went to Venus, because the density of Venus's atmosphere actually would crush us all at below like 50 kilometers below the or at 50 kilometers above the actual surface. And so that's why it's cities of Venus, and they're floating in the sky. So it's not just them just making something up, right? So I just kind of like that. I just wanted to point that out. And it's, you know, over 300% funded as well. The nice thing about this one is that it's simultaneous action selection Euro style game of, you know, sci-fi proportions. And with this, what you're going to be doing is worker placement, again, with a tableau building aspect, because what you have is you have your little astronaut dudes that are going to be allocated into different portions of your base. On every turn, you're going to be basically the first 2 or 3 phases of your turn, or the round essentially, is you're losing them from various spots, including like your shields, because the corrosion of the atmosphere is slowly going to eat away at things. And the concept of this game is that Earth is sending supplies, but all of a sudden you've lost contact with Earth, and you don't know when the last drop is going to be. So when that last Earth card gets pulled out of the pile, that's the end of the game. And so it's a little bit of end game variability depending on a little bit of press your luck as well, of how many times can you go and how are you going to optimize, not knowing how long you're going to have to do so. And so what happens is you lay out this tableau of cards in front of you, and then you get to choose them as actions. But after your income phase and you're dealing with the drop, as it says right there, you have to resolve an event that's going to potentially, again, be like a Dead of Winter event that's probably going to be negative. You're eroding the shields. You get to grow your population because, I mean, babies, right? Boomers. And you automatically always will get 2, it says, which is a nice sort of base so that you're not feeling like you're going to get too far left behind. And then you're going to be purchasing upgrades, sending your innovation astronauts to the ISS space station. And if you get a certain number up there, you're going to get a big tech upgrade. And that's going to allow you, in addition with other actions, to upgrade your cities because you want to have the best city by the end. Canisters are going to be the ones that things that you can claim. Canisters are also going to be things you can claim that'll upgrade your city. Additionally, you can see them get slotted underneath the board there in a unique way. And the game ends when the random Earth card shows up. So most victory points for the set collection style wins. So do you need miniatures with this Euro style game? No. Are you needing a mat? No. Did they do full deluxifications without any stretch goals in that sense? So they're totally transparent about what it's going to come with at this side of things? Yes. Do I like that? Yeah, I do. But it's going to cost you $91. And that's the 2 to 4 player version. They offer a 5 to 6 player expansion as well, which, again, 5 to 6 players. I'm glad they separated it out. But I mean, 5 to 6 players is still going to cost you over $100. So is this game Euro style over $100 worth of game worth it for you? Do you need the deluxifications? That's really the question. Rulebook's right there. Bunch of videos. Rulebook is solid. I didn't have any trouble reading it. You'll get a good sense of the flow when you do it. So give it a look-see. That's it. This is one that I guess it's probably higher priced than I would have expected. But I think the concept is solid. I think the gameplay is solid. And I don't think you'd be disappointed either. It's just, again, where you want to spend your cash this week. So there you go. Look, second rant. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. I'm going to try and not sound bitter. I'm going to just lay out what it is, why it reminds me of, and why I need to bring it up in the first place. This calendar looks like a great product. The problem I have is it stems from a couple while ago on the channel. I talked about a video where I got banned from the Facebook group Board Game Revolution, mainly because of the toxic behavior of the head admin dictator that runs the place. It was based on the fact that I posted a comment on a topic about them basically false promoting projects because they were paid to do so, not disclaiming, but pretending to be just interested backers and spamming it repeatedly all over the place in their group and others. Now, I have a real problem with the behavior. I was targeted, and I was attacked even by 1, the fact that I brought it up, and 2, the fact that I talked about it, and 3, getting private messages via the toxic admin that banned me in the first place. The problem with that, and the reason this is get associated here is, well, this was one of the other admins who actually was the one doing a majority of the posts in the first place, as well as aiding and abetting, or not even just aiding, but just abetting and not saying anything. And because this culture is, well, I didn't see it happen, so therefore it must not be happening, or it didn't happen to me, therefore it can't be true. And that's just not the case. And I have to talk about it again because I can't let this behavior go. I hope it's not still happening on over there, but if it happened to me and the dozen or so people that reached out to me afterwards stating similar cases, I just have to hope that it's not. But the problem with this is this brought it all back to me. You need to realize that this type of behavior can't happen in the community. And if you're one of the people that doesn't necessarily even aid it, but allows it to happen, it's not the type of community that we want as a whole. And I can't disassociate the project from the person and the experiences that were associated with that. And so I have to mention it. As much as this looks like a fantastic project and it's been successful in the years past and people have been supporting it and doing it from that side of things, I wish it the best, but I can't not talk about it as well because of what it brings up and the issues that are just tangentially adjacent. Again, trying to just be, this is where it is. There you go. Talking about it in general. Take it for what you will. If you want to back this, go right ahead. Game found, Hunters A.D. 1492. Post-apocalyptic Renaissance. This is their second or third game in the Hunters series. You're going to have to read the rulebook, though. You're going to have to watch some of the video, get the sense of the flow. It's like an RPG-esque crawl campaign style, only you're going over and exploring map tiles, which are in the form of cards, as you take on these little side quests, 30 to 60 minutes per scenario. And if you look, I mean, it really shows you what this is going to look like here with the maps right there on the page, and then what your player board is going to look like. But here, this is what I was going for here. The events based on the cards that you are going to gradually explore on the actual board itself, and they break it down of how it's going to look and what it's going to look like when you reveal that. So a little bit almost reminds me of Destiny's, if you're familiar with that setup. A little bit of the same thing going on here. And this, again, like I said, is a Renaissance version. It's miniatures. The problem is that's about the most information you're going to get off of the page itself if you don't read the rulebook. Stretch goals, gameplay, again, it talks about upgrading your stuff, developing your hero. I mean, again, but like how? What are the differences? How are you slotting this? How are you getting that? How much are you getting from enemies? I mean, there's no of that information on the page whatsoever. Generic sort of descriptions here. Get off the path, go on a different path, new places, tactical missions. Again, it's fine, but if you want any sense of the flow, you're gonna have to be looking over here at the rule book of how you're doing these rounds, how you're doing these quests, how attack is working. You know, you're using dice-based systems here. You know, you don't see any of that on the page. You know, that's the sort of stuff I want to see. All of the different actions that you can do, including how you're going to be using your items, and ranged versus attacks versus ranged versus melees versus magics. Again, like, I want to see some of this stuff on the actual page, and it's just not. And that's kind of the big problem with game found pages too, is you get the rewards, you get the add-ons, you get the stretch goals, and then you get the gameplay down here. You know, I just hate the way that GameFound sets this up on most of the pages. And I don't know if that's a GameFound thing, or if it's a GameFound thing telling creators to do it this way, or if it's a personal preference. So I'm just putting that one out there, because it seems like most of them do that. And this is Chai Garam, which is very similar. And, you know, again, what's in the box, early bird, what's new, and what people are saying, and photos from Essen before you even get a chance of 3/4 of the way down here of how to play. Essentially what you've got here is you are going to be drawing 3 ingredients per turn, trying to please as many customers with the tea drinks that you can do on a turn-by-turn basis. And you're going to be getting 3 ingredient cards and then being able to feed or serve up to 3 of them in order to get reputation points or victory points. And then if you make it furthest up the track by the end of the game, you win. And so that's sort of a gist of it. You're going to have a little bit more nuance because, say, the customers are going to have ways of scoring 2 differently. The customers, it's going to be a little bit more nuanced. The customers have a little bit different way of scoring depending on if you just match the color of the tea that they're doing, or if you give them the exact specific order. It's going to get you more points. The market here is going to refresh every time you grab something after your turn, and then preparing is your free action as you cook them all in one of your pots in order to serve them to the customer in the first place. Star ratings, that's the victory points that I was mentioning. And then, well, you get the highest one up at the end of the game. So rulebook is there. Stretch goals, this is an upgraded version. If we actually go back up to the top now, the new edition is either going to cost you $35 for the base with the standard stuff, or if you want a little bit of deluxeifications, it's going to be $60. It gets you an additional playmat, exclusive coins, and some holders, as well as an organizer. So is it worth an extra $25? I mean, that stuff selling individually, it's probably going to go for more than $25. But do you want to have this set collection resource management style game for that price? So take that for what you will. I mean, clearly people like it because, again, it's doing great. $13,000 here in the first couple of days. So check it out. Then Gemble. This was a game by another name previously. It's a game where you are going to be having 2 actions on a turn-by-turn basis. You're going to be rolling a die and then collecting whatever gem is in the middle if it matches. Then you get the option of potentially taking a second action of rolling the black die here with the pips on it. And if you make a bet of one of your gems, you're not going to roll a number that is matching a number in the middle. Then you get to take anyone from the middle. And then you basically make set collections. It has a little bit of Mancala, if you're familiar with that 2-player game, of when somebody has gathered all of the different colors, the game ends. When the game ends, though, you look and you set collection score, and I'll show you what it looks like down here in a second. or maybe not. Is it in the rule book? Yeah, it's in the rule book. That's why I'm not seeing it here. But like, you know, the more of each of the colors you have will get you more points. Here it is. Duh. So like this one gets you 21 points, for example. And so it goes until you get all of these and then you total them up back and forth. That's it. Straightforward. Card game. It's like Mancala, only slightly different. So if you like Mancala, this one's a good look-see. Gemble. There you go. That's it. I told you one big rant and one little rant, and I feel bad saying that. At the same time, what do they say about kids in school and stuff like that? Like, you know, who you hang out with and who you associate with also is a reflection of you. So that's all I got. Have a great freaking day. Have a great freaking weekend. Thank you guys for watching in the first place. Thank you for putting up with me. I just like talking about games. Did a different leg day this week, though. Just tried to do more squats. Trying to do a squat heavy workout so I can get better at that. It's one of my weak areas. I got nothing else, though. Do you like my Board Game Geek predictions for the awards thing? Oh, by the way, fallout from the Mythic video earlier in the week. I'll have a follow-up to that later in a couple days. Tune in. Stay classy. See you around.